Welcome in, everybody. Pull up a chair, sit down, grab yourself your favorite beverage, whatever it is, because, baby, it is game week. Finally, we have made it, ladies and gentlemen, to game week. Welcome to my Cincinnati Bearcat preview show. Today, we're going to go over several different topics. And, of course, I definitely want to start off the show talking about what happened this weekend with Husker Volleyball. But then later on, we'll dive right into talking about what happened with the depth chart that got released today. We're going to go over the different topics like the captains being announced. Talk about, I've been, tuning in to some of the Cincinnati Bearcat podcasts and watching some of their, I guess, post-practice interviews with coaches and players and give my thoughts and give some information to you guys about what they're saying, what they're doing, what they're talking about. Sorry, hold on. That seems like way high. Anyway, going over several things like that. Let's see here. We're going to go over kind of their offense, their defense, who they've got, some of their top transfers they've had come in, who they've lost, what we can expect from this game. And then at the very end, I will be giving my score prediction. As everybody already knows, if you tuned in last week, you know that I'm picking Nebraska to win this, but by how much? How close? What are the details? Those will come later in this show. But for right now, like I said, I kind of want to get things started off. Let's talk about what happened this weekend with Husker Volleyball. Because like I said, I'm not going to just be talking about football on this channel. That's going to be obviously the main focus. That's really going to be the structure around this channel. But I definitely want to talk about some of the other Husker athletic sports and teams out there. Especially, Husker volleyball, I like to pay attention to. Husker men's basketball, whenever we get to that point. I'll probably chat a little bit of Husker women's basketball maybe later on in the year whenever we kind of have some dead time. I like to talk about maybe some softball or baseball as well, maybe some wrestling, because it sounds like, the wrestling team is going to be stacked and primed to make a run at Penn State. I'm not saying that they're going to get there or anything like that. You never know, though. I think they last season showed that, they're a dog in that fight. And I think this upcoming season, I think this wrestling team, Mark Manning's got the boys poised and ready to go. But anyway, let's get just to talking about let's go over some of my notes that I took about the games this weekend. I think overall, I think there's only one word to describe what we saw this weekend, and that is wow. I mean, for this, I was kind of texting back and forth with my dad during this as we're watching, and I'm just like trying to think. For the first part of like the first set, I'm going, man, Andy Jackson is dangerous, man. She is killing it in this game. She's killing it in this set. She is doing amazing. And then as soon as I start saying that, boom, Becca Alec is just killing it. Oh, here comes Harper Murray knocking heads off. Okay. Quite literally damn near knocked a girl's head off. Man, just this team is insanely loaded. Number one, you've already got one of the best setter, if not the best setter in all of college volleyball with Bergen Riley. And then she just got a clutter of insane weapons to pass that ball to. We already knew about Andy Jackson, Becca Alec, Harper Murray, right? And then all of a sudden you've got Virginia Adriano. Hope I'm saying that correctly. We've got Ali Check just killed it against Stanford, man. And these are also then young too. And then I think Lainey Choboy really came out and just really proved. Not saying that we're gonna forget about Lexi Rodriguez, because that is one of the best liberos maybe ever. But she's definitely saying, hey, I'm up there too. Like, I'm here to do the same kind of work. But man, and then I started naming all these names, and then I went, oh, I forgot about Taylor Landfair. How do you forget about Taylor Landfair? This squad is so loaded. even like during, I think it was the Stanford cast telecast yesterday, one of the announcers mentioned, like um uh, whenever they're talking about DBK doing more scrimmaging in the preseason and during the season and all that stuff. And somebody mentioned, well, yeah, because you could do that more often, especially with the team. Most of the people you're scrimmaging against, they might be on the bench on your team, but they'd be starters anywhere else in college volleyball. And I think for sure that is true. I think for sure that is true. Um, that team is stacked. I thought to start off in that first um, match against, gosh, I don't know why I'm blanking right now. Um, who are they? A Pitt. God, sorry. In the first match against Pitt in that very first set, it did look like they were all kind of trying to figure each other out because it started to look a lot like big games last season. And what I mean by that is just everything, like they didn't look like they were out of it or the stage was too big, but it was just a little off. Like something just seemed a little off. Maybe passers weren't quite there. You saw a couple of miscommunications that you usually didn't see and stuff like that. But then DBK called a timeout, and from that there on, it looked like nope, they were comfortable. This team was going to be dominant, and they did. They just straight up dominated um, pretty much every set since then. I know that they ended up losing the third set to Pitt, but that just happened to be the one random set that um, Babcock just went off. And they couldn't quite figure out how to stop her for that one set. And even then, it was still a close set, right? So to be able to do that type of dominance, this is going to be a fun volleyball season to watch. And I can't wait to just kind of see how this all ends up, hopefully with a national championship. Let's see here. All right. Let's see. I'm going to put this down if you guys can still hear me. I'm going to share screen here. All right. Let's go here. Let's see here. Get that a little bit closer. There we go. All right. We're going to talk about this Nebraska depth chart real quick. As you can see, start over here on the offense. This was kind of the talk of everybody. Any show you watched, everything. This is kind of the talk right here. We have the or at left tackle with Gunnar Gatula, Turner Corcoran, and Elijah Pritchard. Then if you look over at the right tackle, Teddy Prohaska or Tyler Knack or Kanak. I've heard people call it different names, so I'll just say both names just in case I'm mispronouncing it. To me, look, there's been a lot of discussion. To me, I feel like this is more gamemanship coming from Coach Rule. Not really tipping his hand in certain spots. Not saying that these haven't been tight, fought battles or anything like that. I just feel like there's a reason why you put oars at both tackle spots like that. I think it's for maybe even a couple reasons. But I would just think, and I'm just going off of one, things I've heard, and two, the play I've seen on the field most recently, which would be like last year and stuff like that. I would personally think Gunnar and Elijah should be your two starting tackles, one at left, one at right. I think if you just looked at talent wise, Elijah Pritchard is insanely talented, and I think he might be the most overall athletic and overall most talented tackle that we have right now. And I think Gunnar Katula, after what he did last year, coming in as a freshman and doing what he did, people can say, well, they subbed him out in certain situations. I think that was kind of two things happening there. One, to get Micah on the field, Micah Mizuka on the field, and two, to not kill Gunnar Katula's confidence. I think because as a true freshman, regardless if you're a true freshman or not, if you're out there, if you're a competitor, if you're, a football player or really any kind of athlete, and you kind of get bulldozed over, that can really ruin your confidence. You're not going to sit there and reason and go, well, but I am just a true freshman facing a badass senior that could go off to the NFL. Sometimes, we talk about that a lot with like young quarterbacks, whether it be freshman quarterbacks or rookie quarterbacks in the NFL, right? Well, you don't want to just throw them out there and have them just get sacked all the times, right? So when it comes to NFL teams, I can't remember if I've mentioned this before. I'm a big Texans fan, right? They ruined David Carr's career because of how bad that offensive line was his first year or two. I mean, he got sacked, I think, more than he threw the ball at the end of the season. I mean, that's a little bit of an exaggeration, but I think the numbers are pretty close. And he just never recovered. I think, he was a very talented quarterback that just never recovered because that dude just became gun shy. And I think sometimes you have to think about that in other positions as well, especially a left tackle, right? You don't want them to become gun shy. You don't want them to become timid or, I don't know what the word would be. I guess timid or hesitant would be kind of the right word, because you don't want them to start doing like false starts because they never have the confidence that they have the ability to get back in time and be able to block a guy that's rushing off the edge. So I think there's a little bit of gamemanship, but I do think our two best tackles are Gunner and Elijah Pritchett. But we'll see come Thursday night, whenever the snap one happens, and we'll see how it goes there. One thing I mentioned in the last one, my last video, was it's not necessarily the order that I was necessarily curious about. It was, what names am I going to see on this overall, on this list, right? So, and what I meant by that is come down here to the wide receivers. All right. You look at Isaiah Hunter, Dane Key, and Ja'Cory Bonner Jr. We knew those were going to be the three starters. Then you look at who they got behind them. I think if their name is on this depth chart, the way that Matt Rule kind of believes in getting guys on the field, you're going to see all these guys get some sort of playing time. Now, obviously, your top three are going to get the most, but then I'm thinking Quinn Clark and Cortez Mills Jr. are going to see probably the next two amount of plays. But the thing that I really wanted to see was, one, are they willing to put Jeremiah Jones on this depth chart? And then I wanted to see if some of the buzz, because I remember that open practice, seeing on Twitter a lot of people talk about that ability of Keelan Smith burning folks. He had a really good second step, just kind of getting by, faking people. He's running routes really well. And again, Quinn Clark, Keelan Smith, both legacies. Love to see legacies really kind of show some success and have some success in this program. I think all of Husker fans would really like to see that. The other kind of thing I think a lot of people have been talking about is the TJ Lateef being the backup. I think that only bodes well for our program. The talk, especially once Trey Taylor committed to Nebraska, a lot of the talk was, man, this quarterback room is now loaded for the future. And I think TJ Lateef coming in as a true freshman, getting that nod as being the backup quarterback, the straight backup quarterback, I think just really solidifies our thoughts on that. Because now, if Dylan has a great year that we are hoping for, maybe he's only here for one more year. Now, TJ is clearly, though, proving himself so far, obviously not in the game, but to the coaches and in practice so far, that he is on track to then take over. And then maybe hopefully once he does take over, once Dylan leaves and goes to the NFL, then boom, Dayton's right there. Boom, boom. Then Trey Taylor's right there. Boom, boom. And we just kind of keep this nice little cycle of sophomore, junior quarterbacks who are ready to come in and produce right away. That's where you want your program to get to. Because we keep saying college football is getting much closer to the NFL. What do the NFL franchises really hope for is that they can have that next franchise quarterback ready to go. It's hard. That's why it's kind of hard to do that. But you start seeing a lot of teams. The Green Bay Packers have done this a lot. Before their franchise quarterback is ready to go, maybe a year or two before they'll retire. Oh, why'd that go away? Will retire. They will draft another one, and so forth and so forth. With Brett Favre, Aaron Rodgers to Jordan Love. All right, the running back situation, pretty much kind of how I thought it would go. Like I said, I just kind of was curious whether or not they were going to add a Vincent Genatone or something like that to this list, or if we're going to see a Connor Booth or a Jamarian Parker, that might be that fourth guy or whatever. On defense, the big talk was Williams Nwaneri getting that or. I think that is huge. If we can have that type of body on the field and he's out there producing, that only helps our defense. Riley Van Poppel, I'm not too worried about that. I think this could be more of a sophomore senior situation kind of thing. Put the senior out there, but I think we're going to see a lot of 4-man fronts anyway, whenever it comes to Big Ten play. So I think you're going to see a lot of Williams, Elijah, Riley, Keona. And then you're going to have somebody like a Dason kind of replacing maybe one of these defensive backs, I think a lot. I think a lot of these guys, the Marcus Watson Trent and Vincent Shavers Jr., I think that's just kind of more of a rotational thing. I don't think that's going to matter. That's why that's an or. These three right here, the Dason, Jordan Ochoa, Willis McGahee, again, I think they're all going to see the field so often. This, again, is not going to be a huge deal. Seeing young guys popping up on this depth chart, I think is huge, right? A Dawson Merritt, but then again, a Rex Guthrie, a Donovan Jones, Caleb Benning, Jameer Khan, and Amari Sanders, Jeremiah Charles. That one kind of surprised me just a little bit. I know there's a little bit of talk of Jeremiah Charles. All right, let's go ahead and stop sharing here. Jeremiah Charles has really stepped it up, but there was always so much more talk over all of Amari Sanders. So I was kind of thinking maybe we'd see Amari Sanders more or number 2 on that depth chart, not necessarily third. But again, they try to get so many people in on the field and rotating. I don't think that was just a Tony White thing. I think that's a huge Matt Rule thing. I think he wants to get a lot of people on the field doing a lot of different things. And I think that's going to continue even with Butler as the defensive coordinator. I don't think that's going to change a whole lot. Sorry, I needed a little quencher. All right. Also, just the other night, or it might have been last night, days kind of meld together anymore. The little video got put up on Huskers social media naming the captains that were voted on. This is the first time under Matt Rule that they did a full season worth of captains where they voted. Usually they pick captains week to week. So they voted on 6 captains, and I think everybody knows who they are. Dylan Raiola, Henry Lutoski, Dane Key, Marquise Buford Jr., Syer Wright, and Deshaun Singleton. I was going to kind of mess with his name, but shouldn't do it. Deshaun Singleton. Not surprised by really any of these except for maybe Syer Wright. I know he just got a single digit, but he's not somebody that like really gets talked about a ton as far as being like this kind of vocal leader or top guy that really knows what he's doing, anything like that. Like you just don't hear it. Not saying that obviously he's not, because clearly he is if he just got voted as a team captain. But yeah, it's pretty even defense and offense. I just think I'd rather teams do this where they vote on their captains and their captains all year. I think it just sets a tone better for the team locker room, the team culture and all that stuff, rather than week to week, somebody new is getting it. Sometimes I've seen teams, you have like your main 4 or 5, and then you rotate one. Kind of like one would be like a rotating special teams guy that's really busted his ass that week or something like that. That's not a big deal. Like I kind of like that too, but um, I like where we're going with this. I feel like again, this is just another thing where Matt Rule has really kind of done all the right moves. He's really tweaked kind of what he wants to do in this program, and I just feel like everything is right and it's working and it's moving forward and it feels good. Doesn't mean it's always gonna be good, but it feels good. Um, but yeah, so those are the kind of the little different topics that happened that popped up. So let's get into this preview, guys. We're going to start off with the Cincinnati Bearcat side of things. Like I said, I've been trying to check out some of their podcasts, some of the different fan podcasts. Try to watch some of the post-practice stuff. The post-practice stuff, I couldn't really get a whole lot out of that. Because it's done kind of like Nebraska used to do a long time ago, where it was just like, hey, after practice, he kind of comes running off to the side of the practice field, and there's like 5 guys there and just kind of asking random questions. He talks for like 6 minutes and walks off. It's not an actual like press conference like they kind of do now. So there's not a whole lot of actual anything said. The only thing I really ever got out of that is talking about Coach Satterfield was asked about going good on good in practice and doing stuff like that. And he mentioned with what he thought is, a strength is now helping iron sharpen iron. And I know that's kind of a phrase a lot of coaches use, but it was just kind of the way he said it. And, with that on top of what I've heard from a lot of other Bearcat fans and on those other podcasts or game previews, season previews for the Bearcats, their secondary the last couple years has not been very good. They did go out, they brought in some guys, but, I guess it's still a big question mark. Out of their defense, their secondary is their biggest question mark. Now, their offense, they do have some pretty talented wide receivers. Of course, they're tied in. Joe Royer is a stud. He broke Travis Kelce's a record of Travis Kelce's. I can't remember what one it is now off the top of my head. It's something to do with like receiving yards, but I can't remember if it's receiving yards for a freshman in a season or just overall for a tight end for a season. But regardless of whatever that record may be, if you're breaking Travis Kelce's records of any kind, you're pretty good. You're probably doing something right. They also seem to be overall, a lot of them seem to be very, very confident that they're going to be able to run the ball on us. They have a returning running back in Evan Pryor, and they have transfer from Wisconsin, Tawee Walker. So they've got a 2-headed monster with that. Plus their starting quarterback, Brendan Sorsby. He was I think he was like their second leading rusher last year. So you've got 3 dudes that you've really got to watch out for with the run game. They shored up their offensive line, getting in a guy from South Dakota. So I thought I wrote his name down. I believe it's like Joe Cotton or something like that. Thought I had his name down here. Anyway. But yeah, it was just kind of funny. So I watched one where they had Connor Happer on. And initially they came off almost kind of like smug a little bit. I think they were trying to be kind of funny. But once they kind of started talking to Connor, I think it kind of changed their tone a little bit, because it was kind of funny, because at the first it kind of almost seemed like, how dare people think that, us Cincinnati Bearcats don't have a chance. We went to the college football playoff not that long ago. It's like, yeah, but it's not the same team. You don't even have the same coaching staff, and you're not even in the same conference anymore. It's a little different now. You know, you have a little bit tougher schedules on your road to get to that college football playoff now. Again, not saying that, obviously, whenever Brian Kelly was there, they had some pretty good years. They were, again, doing fine, but again, they were in a lower group of 5 conference during that entire time. It's going to be different now that they're in the Big 12. Not that the Big 12 is like some daunting task, but it's definitely not the ACC or whatever conference they were in before. Can't remember what they were in before, but it's just different now, right? It's a lot harder. It's harder to go week after week and still go toe to toe with some tough opponents that are a little more equal footing than dominating a group of 5 style conference. Just very different. But then, like I said, towards the end, all of a sudden it was like, well, our secondaries like Swiss cheese. You guys are probably going to be able to throw all over on us. All this stuff. It was a really odd podcast. It was just very odd. Let's see here. All right, so let's go over some of the Cincinnati's top players. At nose tackle, they have Dante Corleone. This dude is definitely probably a day 2 draft pick, maybe day 2 or early day 3 draft pick. I guess here recently, last year he dealt with some health issues, which kind of stumped kind of his season last year. They expect him, though, to be fully healthy and really ready to go and play some of his best football. I think he's going to be a menace for our offensive line. Dude is very big. I watched some stuff on him. He does look very active, very powerful. He's going to be very tough for our offensive line. But again, if we're going to look at our team, and if I'm going to look at our team and expect them to play the way I think they should, by being a team that could be a 10-2 team, like I predicted them to be, we should have an offensive line that can handle. Will he make a play or two? Of course. I think all good players will, but we should have an offensive line that should be able to, at least keep him from doing like he shouldn't just be able to wreak havoc on us. Okay, I guess is what I'm trying to say. At quarterback, like I just mentioned, Brendan Sorsby, he's returning as their starting quarterback. They got him some help at wide receiver, so therefore they're expecting his passing ability and his passing stats to get better. This dude can run the football. Hopefully our defense is ready for that. I've already mentioned, too, at tight end, Joe Royer. Again, really, really good. These are the guys, the Dante Corleone, Brendan Sorsby, maybe not Brendan Sorsby as much, but Joe Royer. These are the guys that could possibly be NFL guys one day. Again, at running back, Tawi Walker and Evan Proyer. They got Jack Dingle and Matthew McDoom. Matthew McDoom, I believe, is a safety. The type of offense that they're going to run, they're a very run-heavy offense. Like I said, Sorsby, their 2 top running backs are going to be a load, a little kind of a 3-headed monster. They're going to be running probably a lot of RPOs, play action passes, with their top target being that Joe Royer. Again, they made a couple additions to that wide receiver room, so they're starting to feel pretty confident about that. On the defensive side of the ball, this is where I think is going to help Nebraska, okay? Cincinnati runs a 3-3-5, and I believe it's a little more of a traditional 3-3-5. That's where, Dante Corleone is right there in the middle. He's that big, big, big nose tackle. So again, they've added some pieces to the secondary, but again, that's probably their biggest worry um, as far as a position group goes on their defense. Um, again, it's a lot of new people back there. We've seen that before too. Here in Nebraska, where we have a lot of new guys, a couple new transfers, a couple young guys, a lot of miscommunication can happen. Maybe especially with our type of wide receivers and our quarterback, we can really take advantage of that and make them look silly. Hopefully, let's hope on that. Um, but yeah, I just think that that gives us an advantage because we're practicing against a 3-3-5. That's what we run too, right? That's what we ran last year and the year before. So not only have we been practicing it obviously like this year, but we've still got a lot of um, returning players from this year or from last year and everything, and so they've seen this 3-3-5 a lot. Um, and then the reason why I think that's an advantage, because obviously if we run a 3-3-5, then they've seen it a lot. So why wouldn't that help out their offense? Well, I think it's because this year, while we are going to run obviously a 3-3-5, I think we're just still calling it a 3-3-5, but it's going to be multiple. It's going to be a very multiple defense. And I think you're going to see a very attacking uh, fronts are going to be switching nonstop. Now, will we see it in this game? I don't know. But like mentioned, whenever we're going over the depth chart, especially whenever we get into run heavy teams, I see us running a lot of 4-2-5 or a 4-3-5 or a 4-3, a 4-3-4 type of defenses. You're going to see that 4-man front of with two bigger D tackles to help stop the run. This team is apparently run heavy. Could we see that? I don't know, because they could be more of a option style. So maybe it works better to have more attacking linebackers that can hit from all sides and really confuse the option. Um, so that's kind of why I'm thinking this will really be an advantage to Nebraska's offense. And, especially with, let's just be honest, maybe the Emmett Johnson comparison to Tawi Walker and Evan Poyer, maybe that's more of a wash, but Dylan Raiola should be the better quarterback on the field that night. Just overall, right? He should just be the better quarterback. I think our wide receivers should be the better wide receivers. I think our offensive line should be the better offensive line on that field, talent wise. Will it all come together? We're going to find out. But I think, especially again, if we have the hope as Husker fans, if I'm looking at this Husker team in the eyes of how I predicted the season to go, that we're only going to go that way if this team turns out to be that good, if these players turn out to be the type of players I think they can be. So whenever I talk about these previews, I've got to go with that type of mindset that's what to expect, because that is what I expect. I expect this team to be good. I expect these players, this super talented roster, to finally step up and play to the expectation and perform. Cincinnati has 17 incoming transfers and they lost 18. The 18 that they lost, there's a couple that didn't even find homes. Most of them all, I think, went down in quality of program. So they lost some guys that probably were some of the reason why they weren't doing well. That I think they went on a 5-game losing streak to end the year last year. So they lost a lot of guys, but they do look, like I said, to improve several of these spots. Again, Tawi Walker, running back from Wisconsin. They have Cyrus Allen, a wide receiver from Texas A&M. CJ McCray, a defensive lineman from Virginia Tech. Christian Harrison, a defensive back from Tennessee. Elijah Gunn, another defensive tackle from Tennessee. And then one guy that they cannot stop talking about. His name is Jeff Caldwell, wide receiver from Lindenwood University. Now you might be asking yourself, huh? Lindenwood? What's a Lindenwood? Well, Lindenwood University used to be NAIA just a handful of years ago. Moved up to NCAA. I believe it's Division II now. Maybe FCS. But it's right here. So I live currently in the St. Louis area. Lindenwood is up here in a town called St. Charles. Again, it's NAIA. Back in 2004, 2005, whenever I played college football at Missouri Valley College, also at NAIA school, we used to play Lindenwood all the time. But Lindenwood at some point moved up, I think just a handful of years ago. Might have been either right before or right after COVID. I can't remember now. Again, but I live in the area and I've never heard this guy's name before in my life. So I don't know if he's really good, but man, the Cincinnati coaches, fans believe in this guy. And I was looking up, he does have some pretty good stats. So I'm not gonna just kind of trash him. I don't know. But he could be one of those guys that just, I don't know, I guess maybe fell through the cracks, really got good, produced a bunch of stuff, and now he's going to be really good. That could be a guy that, you know, could be a guy that could really surprise us. So he's going to be somebody I'm going to really be watching during this game. But again, I personally believe that we've got the cornerbacks and Andrew Marshall and Sierra Wright that really are going to be able to D up just about anybody. So, will this Jeff Caldwell be their saving grace at Cincinnati? I don't know. Hopefully he will be, but just not against Nebraska. But we will see after that. Again, not all, again, they did get some good transfers from some top programs, right? Tennessee, Texas A&M, Virginia Tech, Wisconsin. But something that I think even us as Husker fans have learned, that doesn't always mean that they're going to just walk in, be better than who you have on your roster, and help you get successful. I'm trying to think of, guys like Stephen Wynn. I think even last year, I think Nair was maybe not just a disappointment, might be too harsh of a word, but definitely didn't think lived up to the expectations that we thought we were going to get from him. I think maybe even Jamal Banks, you could say a couple years ago, Billy Kemp, we've Jeff Sims, right? Like we've had these guys come in from other programs that were either other Power Four or very good, well-known programs. Think of O'Shawn Mathis, right? Coming from TCU. That dude was going to be the new sack leader of the Big Ten, correct? And got, I think, maybe 2 sacks the whole year. Again, didn't necessarily play terrible, but he didn't produce what we thought. So while I kind of look at these players and think, okay, they're upgrading without really knowing as much as I probably could as far as being able to see them play and watch a lot of stuff. I don't know. A lot of these guys, whenever I was watching one guy kind of give his season preview, there are a lot of them that really never saw the field at those schools. Again, we've gotten those type of guys before that didn't really see a whole lot of playing time at that school before. So you don't know what you're really getting. Maybe they didn't pan out at those schools. So you're not really getting a good produced or developed guy that's going to get on the field and produce for you. So that's going to be something very interesting to see. That's kind of what makes these first games are always so tough, right? Because we don't know. It's hard to go off of, like I'm going off of fan podcasts, what they say, what they're thinking, and what a coach and some players are randomly saying after a practice in August. Like that's so tough to just kind of go off of whenever you don't have really good, solid details and evidence of what these players are going to be able to do. But I just think, we'll go ahead and start talking about the game itself. Okay. This is what I kind of think is going to happen out of this game. I would not be surprised. Just kind of looking at how both these teams are kind of put together. If this kind of gets into a track meet, if it's offense, just kind of everybody's scoring, I wouldn't be surprised of it. I don't necessarily think that's going to be what happens, but I also wouldn't be shocked if it's just kind of a back and forth scoring. I think eventually, obviously, and if that were to happen, I do eventually think Nebraska would take control of that game and maybe pull away. But I just think that in the first game, so many question marks, so many changes on both teams, that I think also just it's week one. The week one games are always kind of weird, screwy. They're kind of all over the place. It's going to obviously come down, every game always comes down to this. So, Captain Obvious here, but week ones especially are. We saw it in the Kansas State Iowa State game, right? It just came down to Iowa State at the end of the game ended up making one less mistake. And that's what it's going to take. Try to keep the game one jitters and mistakes down to a minimum as best as you can if you're a Nebraska football player. Just try to keep your mind in the game. Try to stay focused. Don't let the stage of the game get to you. Don't let the emotions of the game get to you. Stay in the game, stay focused, and just, go out there and play football. Especially in week one, like I said, it happens so much. You see the most penalties during a game in week one. You see the most mistakes and fumbles and everything else happening in game one, because guys aren't used to tackling. Guys aren't used to getting hit. Because especially now, I mean, these guys are only allowed like 8 full contact practices and all of the preseason, the fall camp stuff. I mean, that does not prepare you for all of a sudden going full blown body blows week one. It just doesn't prepare you for that. But I do think, at the end of the day, Nebraska will, like I said, take over. I think somewhere, I think so. Here's what I think. First quarter, I think you could see a score of like 17-14. Nebraska, something like that. 14-10, 17-14, something kind of close, but a good amount of scoring for one quarter. Somewhere in like mid second quarter, I think Nebraska's defense settles down. Nebraska starts to pull away, and I've got Nebraska winning 38-17. I think it's going to end up being a pretty comfortable win. And again, like I said, if I have to think these games are going to go the way I think that the team that I picked to go 10-2 would show out and produce. And I think they will show out and produce to really kind of take control and handle this team and kind of prove that we're a different team this year. I've heard others, and part of me kind of agrees. It'd be nice to have a Thursday night game, be really close, go in overtime, we win. We finally get a win in overtime. Like, let's start breaking all these curses. Let's get this all over with in game one. But at the same time, if you're going to be really, really good, you don't need to do that. And I think this team could be really, really good. I think this team could have a really good offense. I think a top 30 style offense. In this defense that has been a top 25 defense the last 2 years, why can't they be another top 25 team again? Defense. I don't see why not. I think if they do slip, I still think they're top 30, 35 defense. And then our special teams. I think our special teams is going to get obviously much better. I personally think that if all that comes together, that's what makes this team going to be very good. And I think whenever they play the teams that maybe we have struggled against in the past, I think we're going to dominate. The Northwesterns, the Marylands, the Purdue's, even though Purdue's not on this schedule, but you get what I'm saying, Michigan State's on the schedule. Those type of teams that are struggling, we should be able to dominate. Now, whenever I say dominate, I'm not talking about things that maybe we're used to, like watching the team in the 90s beat a team like 70-14 or something like that, but dominate like a 38-17, a 42-20, something like that, right? I think in this day and age in college football, where offenses just have a leg up on defenses regardless, I think that's what you're going to see. That's what a kind of a dominating, dominating performance is going to look like. But yeah, that's what I think this team's going to do. I cannot wait for Thursday night. Man, I'm really hoping that Boise State handles USF and gets that game off TV in time for our game. Now, that it's 3.5 hours between the beginning of their game and the beginning of ours. So it should have enough of a buffer. But man, it would just it just wouldn't be Nebraska football if our game actually got started on time. Or not started on time, but started like on the right channel, on time, ready to go. Like it just always seems whenever we have to follow another team so close or another game that's so close on the same channel, we always get, okay, we're going to start on Fox Business or we're going to start on ESPN Classic. If that's even still around. Hey, go find this app, and that's where it's starting. Well, okay, I guess I'm missing the first 10 minutes of this game. The hell. So let's just all hope. Let's pray to the football gods that this game gets started at 8 o'clock and on ESPN. We don't have to go flipping around for 10 minutes trying to find where this game is at. Let's just hope for a really good night. I think the weather is going to be awesome. Obviously, Nebraska fans are going to fill that stadium. Sounds like everybody's going. That's all anybody on Husker radio channels are talking about. Everybody that they know is going to this game. Cannot wait. The Bussin' with the Boys are going to be there. The Kelsey brothers are going to be there. A lot of Chiefs guys are going to be there because, man, their defensive back, the Chiefs defensive back coach, well, his kid plays for us. A former defensive line coach, well, he's our D line coach. Dylan Raiola works with Patrick Mahomes during the offseason. There's just so much connection between us and the Kansas City Chiefs. It's kind of crazy. So we'll see if, who's on our sideline, who's maybe cheering on the Huskers, who's going against the Huskers, who's siding with Travis. Yeah, I think it's going to be a lot of fun. Overall, though, I think this game is going to be a lot of fun. I think the broadcast is going to be a lot of fun. Outside of all the annoying Dylan Raiola looks like Patrick Mahomes stuff that they're going to talk about the whole time. Heard today that it looks like it's going to be Mark Jones calling our game. So he'll probably talk about Dion and Colorado, and he'll probably bring up how it's unfair what's happening to Shedeur Sanders, probably for no reason. That'll just pop up. And we'll be like, hey, Mark, talk about our game. Come on. Our game's going on. So yeah, but no, overall, dude, I do think this is going to be a lot of fun. Cannot wait. Been waiting so long for Husker football. Man, cannot wait. Cook up some stuff. I think we're going to do some tacos here at the house. Going to have people over. Just have a good time, man. This is what I love about college football. This is what I love about football season. Not just the games, not just everything, but just everything that comes with it. That's kind of the reason why I also hate that it's on a Thursday. That's what I love about Saturdays. Saturday game or college football. So Saturday games all day long. You don't have to go to work the next day as long, if you work a Monday through Friday job. You don't have to go to work the next day. Just have a lot of fun. Enjoy yourself all day long. Have some adult beverages or non-adult beverages, whatever you like to do. Cook out. Be around people that you love and enjoy just the games, the camaraderie, and all that stuff. I love it. And personally, I don't think anybody does it better than Big Red Nation. So everybody, let's cheer it out real loud. Come Thursday night, go Big Red. We're winning. We're bringing this home. Let's go. We will talk to you guys. I think I'm going to do the game review show on Friday night. And then I will have the Akron preview show on Monday. So until then, everybody go Big Red and have a good time.